This is our 6th episode of Boss Talks, and our special guest today is Leah.
Just call me Leah Love. So my married name is Orsbon, and it was misspelled in the Army. Yeah, so it's Orsbon. So it's a mispronunciation, so it confuses everybody. So I just go by Leah Love or Leasing Leah. That's what
Leah Love.
Most people. Yes, Leah Love.
Leah, I just want to say thank you again for joining me today. And I came across to you just a few weeks ago, and we've had a few really good conversations on the phone so far. So I really appreciate your insight and all the things that you bring to the table when it comes to your experience in this industry that we work in.
Yeah.
I think that would be great to just start with that, is your background a little bit, because I know you've been in this game for a while.
I have. I started in property management when I was 19 years old. I started as a leasing consultant in Antioch, Tennessee. It's a really busy housing market right outside of Nashville, in a C- property, but it taught me so much about, it doesn't matter how old your property is, it can still be the cleanest. I learned so much from the housekeepers, and I was taking Spanish in college, and there were so many Spanish speaking people that need an apartment. Nobody would really cater to them or help them understand the things. So I started leasing in very broken Spanish, but it worked really well for me. They always came and asked for me. They told all their friends, go talk to her. I read the lease to them in Spanish. So that was how I started. And I got promoted to an assistant manager. And then I got my first property manager offer when I was 20 years old. So I was the youngest property manager in the company, and I managed 480 beds. And I'd actually interviewed for a regional leasing specialist. Don't know what made me think I was capable of that, but I did. I went for it. And they said, we need you to have at least one lease up under your belt. So I leased that property up to above budgeted occupancy, and they gave me the regional leasing specialist job. So I began traveling every week, 52 weeks out of the year, and had from Maine to Miami area. So that whole East Coast, 32 properties. It was insane. And then I just kept doing that for a while. And then I started Leasing Leah. Actually, my husband and I were sitting around, and I was like, what do you think about Leasing Leah? That's it. So I built it out of necessity for people that were in our industry that needed things that maybe they were too small of a company to go do some huge contract with, or they needed one-offs, or they needed consulting for a new construction lease up, or just various things. It just came out of necessity. And then I just built a great company out of helping people in the property management industry. And it's been great. I've worked with student, conventional, 55 plus, and tax credit, all in Leasing Leah. So it's been fantastic. A lot has been learned, a lot has been self-taught, but it's usually self-taught, again, out of just necessity. If somebody needs it, I have the time to learn it, so I'll learn it and then I'll give back. And I do, as much as my husband hates it when I say this, I'm probably the most affordable game out there, because I don't try to nickel and dime people. I want them to walk away saying that was the best investment, best ROI was having her as a part of my team. So I never want somebody to say, oh, that was a waste of my money, but I enjoy it.
Well, and that's one thing I think I heard you say, and I dove into Instagram and LinkedIn and did some field work when it comes to posts about you. And a lot of people talk about that, about you, about how you dive in. And even though you're technically third party, you treat it as if you're one of the team.
I do. And a lot of times people that work there don't know that I'm not an employee. And then when the contract's up, they're like, what happened? Yeah, I definitely 100% feel like I'm an employee that could be fired tomorrow, which I easily could. I'm in a contract basis. But yeah, I treat it as if it's my checkbook. I'm part of the team. If somebody brings me on, I'm wearing your logo and I'm doing the dance with you guys. Celebrate, and worried about the losses and celebrating the wins the same way.
One of the other things that I saw, and I just did a search on LinkedIn, I think. Somebody did a post, actually. It was about you and your husband, actually. and saying how much they appreciate you from a leadership standpoint.
Yes. Oh, that was one of my community assistants. So it was this really rare opportunity that was brought to us to be my husband and I, and he's in property management. He works at a company here in New Orleans, but at the time he was an RVP for a company that I consulted with. But somebody gave us this opportunity to work on a student housing site team. I didn't really have a title, but I was the leasing person. He was the operations person, which is us in a nutshell. And we just built this fantastic team that's like a dream team that I think about all the time. All of these people that were there, I still keep in touch with on a weekly basis. Almost all of them are in property management. And I treated them the way I thought they deserve to be treated, even if they're days that are working 10 hours a week. They probably had more stressful days than I did sometimes. They're going to nursing school, they're taking boards, they're taking exams, and I was just there for them. And it really was one of the best times of my career was that lease up. We actually were brought in to lease it up to sell, and we sold that next year. I saw all of these people. One of them's a property manager now and just so successful, and it just makes me so happy. If I'm known for nothing else, it could be that position and how I hope helpful and guiding and a mentor I was for that group.
You could tell she was very genuine about it, her appreciation. So something that I find cool is you've built a following on a few different channels, social media. You're Leasing Leah. You have, what was it, 18, almost 19,000 followers?
Yeah, no, I started on Instagram. Even before I did Facebook for Leasing Leah, I was just like, I have such a creative mind and I have nowhere to put some of my ideas that I don't even use for client work. Some of it's just stuff like with Sprout Marketing. I just did their stuff. I would just go buy all this stuff and set it up at my house and take pictures of it because it was so fun and so creative. And I usually had a property that I could send this stuff to so that it wasn't just wasted stuff. But I was able to put all that on social media. So I'm a place that really only talks positive. Now, I have my moments too, and we all gripe, but I try to keep that space positive, upbeat, that one. And it's all apartment related on Leasing Leah. There's no non-apartment related stuff on there.
I could tell that there's pretty good engagement when you are active. Social media in general is such a hard thing to keep up with. And you're running your own business. To do social media and to do all the other tasks, because you're then running social media for other people.
I always say that everybody else gets their attention before I get mine. And sometimes at the end of the day, I'm so burnt out on social media that I feel like anything I would be putting out there would be inauthentic and forced. I try to post when it's something that I just can't contain. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
COVID really put a wrench in work-life balance and burnout and all that kind of stuff. And I saw you even posting about that kind of stuff recently. So that was your other channel that you helped facilitate. It's almost 50,000 people within the Facebook group. You're going to have to tell me what it's called.
The Official Apartment Management and Maintenance Support Group. That's a mouthful.
It's great. It's over 50,000 people in the industry sharing recommendations. Sometimes there's venting. There's also joking. It's just a great place because we are in a time of people having a hard time. Not that's a new thing anyways, but sometimes it gets, I guess, elevated, especially when we weren't around people as much and only in our jobs. So one of the things that I just noticed you mentioning is that seems to be a really big thing. And then you were, I think, tongue-in-cheek, but probably serious too, about having some kind of gathering that is just, let's get together and have tacos and drink margaritas.
It's so funny because I was like, you can feel the tension in the industry without even being around people. If you can cut it with a knife right now, and people are just like needing an outlet. And I was like, it would be so funny. We don't need much as an industry. We just want to all get together and have fun. I was like, what if we rented a big field and had apartment palooza where we don't ask maintenance to do anything at all, and then we can just have a margarita truck and taco truck and a bonfire, and everybody can scream and get one of those anger cars where we can just smash it up.
You can write your gripes on a card and throw it in the fire.
But yeah, we had 600 people. I was like, okay, we can actually do this. I'm like, what kind of liability am I looking at here? I love all these conventions. I love everything, the education that you get from it, but sometimes people people want to go hang out with people in their industry and not learn a dang thing. They just want to hang out with one another and not feel like they have to put on all these like stuffy clothes and be somebody that they're not. And I wish that was something that these conventions would push a little bit more. And the things they do are like, hey, let's have this huge event where it's people are wearing black tie and stuff. These people want to go out in a field and have a bonfire.
I think the 600 responses to say that people think that's true.
And it's the time right now. COVID has done a number to our industry as far as everybody's short-staffed. Yeah. People are doing the jobs of 2 and 3 people sometimes and not really getting the pats on the back that they need. Mental health it's super important and I'm not saying that in some cheesy, canned way. Oh, no. Everybody in this industry needs to prioritize their mental health and their lunch breaks and take care of themselves, because we all know we're not a dime a dozen. Everybody's fantastic.
And go on vacation. Do something.
Absolutely. I'm like, did you take this job? Would you have taken that job if they said you got no vacation days? Absolutely not.
But then you don't take them.
Yeah, go take them. Turn your phone off. Pretend you're going on a cruise with absolutely no signal. The place will be fine. If you come back and it was burnt down, probably not much you could do about it when you're 500 miles away. I just don't feel like we get enough breaks or take the ones that we're given and don't feel guilty about it. They're yours. You negotiated it when you signed to be a property manager. Go take them.
I worked for a company that I lived there and I did events and all that. So I was observing kind of the work life of a manager and becoming their friend and such. But I just noticed that everything was an emergency. They felt like they had to make everything, wrap up every day, completed, and it just meant they stayed long.
And I think everything should be prioritized. Everything's not an emergency. And marketing is never an emergency, by the way. There's few emergencies besides a fire or blood. We all know the fire, flood, and blood. Yeah. So there's very few emergencies, truly. Now, right now, it's 120 degrees everywhere. Air conditioner is an emergency, but we all know that right now. But yeah, we tend to give priority into things, which I'm the biggest customer service advocate there is, but we have to take care of ourselves so that we can give back even better to our community.
Yeah, it's true for everyone, but I see it in this industry. There's a big, like giving so much of yourself to the job that it affects all aspects of your life.
There's no award at these conferences for least lunch breaks taken. So nobody's going to remember, nobody's keeping score. So take those lunch breaks, go sit in a park, go turn on music, go listen to a podcast. If it's nice outside, go for a walk. There's almost always something you can do to refresh your mind instead of working. And you're probably not going to leave at 5 like you're telling yourself you were. You're probably going to leave at 6:30. So just do those things that you're already awarded. Don't look for the other things before you fill those up first.
I need to take your advice there too.
And I was the world's worst until I realized you don't advance your career that way. You don't advance your career by not taking your lunch break or by staying late every day. You do it by learning how to make better use of that time that you are there, however that works best. That's, I've always figured out what's the best. Can I automate this somehow so that I can leave on time? I think people should work on that.
Tied to that, what are some of the things that really resonate with people when it comes to celebrating them or implementing new things that make it more efficient?
Everybody is tired of celebrating their wins with pizza parties. We're all over that right now. So I think truly appreciate people's work by telling them, appreciate it monetarily. If you think somebody's doing a good job, think about passing along a $50 gift card instead of we're all going to have pizza. We don't want pizza parties anymore. And as far as automation, I think, and I will say if Barbara Savona here from Sprout Marketing, she's a big automation person. Automate whatever you can, batch whatever you can. There's so much out there right now that you can use to automate everything that you do. I'm a big if this, then that person. If a new lead comes in, you guys have the property management software that can trigger an email to go out automatically. Whatever you can do to automate and trigger without you having to even look at it is just such a time saver. But those are the two big things I hear a lot is we want gas cards, we want gift cards, or give me $1 an hour raise. And then automation, people are tired of the repetitive kind of things like automate those emails to leads, automate text.
We're a company that is prop tech, right? So we've definitely learned that by and large, people aren't going into your software. They want it to take care of itself. They don't want it
Right.
to have to be something else they have to go into. That's why so many people push for integrations and things like that, because they want it to flow from their property management software into whatever else they're using. So that way they're not pushing 5 buttons for every one person. But one thing you and I even talked about was integration doesn't necessarily mean that. And it can be a one-way integration. And if it's not two-way, like you do something over here and it goes back to there, then it may not save you any of that time. And then also tied to that is just the cost of integration. I think people don't realize how much it costs to integrate with a bigger property management software company. Are we too quick to just ask for an integration, but we don't know what it means?
Yes, I hear it a lot. Does it integrate with this? Does it integrate with that? Or I'll have somebody ask me a question, do you know of something that integrates with this property management software? And you brought up a good question. What are you needing to integrate? Are you just wanting them to connect? Because that's not going to do much. Yeah, sure, they'll integrate, but how much are they going to talk to each other? Is it a give and take, or is it just a give, or is it just a take? And some of the big names don't push and pull your data. So you'll still have to go to that ILS and make any changes that you need to make over there because it's not a push pull. I think that's what people forget to ask when they say, do you integrate with so-and-so is, yes, we do. And then you ask, okay, what are those integrations? What does this say to this property management software? What did you pull from it? Do you have a full pull? So I think that's what people should understand when they want to integrate with something. And some things just don't need an integration more than just a connection, really. And some need like the full, we're putting leads in, we're pulling delinquencies out, stuff like that. So every prop tech isn't going to need that full integration.
Not only that, sometimes a company like mine, for instance, we would like to integrate, but the way a property management software is set up doesn't even lend itself to being a very valuable integration. So it's not even necessarily that our software isn't willing or wanting to. It's sometimes the information that you're getting from a property management software is, whether it's inconsistent, the way it's coded, whatever it is. They're learning a lot about this through the process of integration right now as we're doing it, that sometimes there's nothing we could do about it, unfortunately. And so there is big room for improvement. We'll say that.
Right.
And it's whether or not these property management softwares are willing to make those adjustments. And if it doesn't benefit them, they probably aren't.
Yeah, I was just working on trying to find an integration, and I'm like, can I get you guys to talk to each other? Because you'd really be great if you integrated. And there's I would say it's not one of the largest, but they don't allow any integrations with their prop tech, not on the property management side, because they don't want people to see what's behind the hood, which is funny. Like, we've all learned what the basics of property management software, but yeah, it's crazy. And it's a bigger known property management software. So there's a few of them.
And that's actually something we're really willing to do, is allow people to use our API to build certain things off of our platform. Everybody's accumulating so much data. Everybody's learning so much more. And it's like cutting and pasting it and bringing it forth to communicate something valuable. That's the biggest thing. How do we do that with all this new data we have?
And there's a probably, I would say, one of the largest that does property maps. I would even say their name if I can remember it, but they're Ingrain, I believe.
Yeah.
And Ingrain they let you play around with all their code.
Yeah, they definitely have a huge platform for mapping. we actually have jumped into that world as well. Our platform being called Community Boss, actually, the reason why we've renamed ourselves is to really showcase the fact that we help all the physical pieces of the community and improving those. So we've got parking, amenities, and maps all under one roof. We see it as like an opportunity to make the person that lives there have a better experience, whether they're moving in or also they have a directory where they can see where all their amenities are and what's going on with all that.
I know so many people know Parking Boss. It's probably the one that like, I'm like, oh, I know that one. So I think it's really cool that you guys moved to Community Boss.
We saw there wasn't really a directory map out there.
Yeah.
That it was an opportunity to communicate a certain message to new and existing residents in a different way.
Yeah, no, that's very true. It's mostly all for prospective people, not your actual residents.
Yeah, we're really excited about it, and it's interactive. It's something that you walk through the community and you see where you are. So the whole blue dot experience of geolocation.
That's very cool.
All that.
Oh my gosh. That would be so helpful for student housing because they have the one, maybe two moving. So everybody's moving in the same day, trying to find stuff. Oh my gosh, that would be amazing. That's something to talk about.
I think you're right. I think we have a great opportunity in student housing that we haven't really fully realized.
Oh yeah, student is on top of the tech game.
The students themselves are more apt to use it and to appreciate it.
Yeah.
And they're easier to adapt to that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So it makes a lot of sense. So what are some of the tech tools that you've noticed popping up that have been really helpful in the different places that you work, like student and other housing?
I'm really liking the AI or the machine learning bots, the chat bots that truly sound human-like. Even if it's like they're in a call center, that's better than thinking you're talking to a bot. The chat bots that have the real conversations. And I believe Knock has an integration with Facebook Messenger. I find that most companies don't respond to Facebook Messenger messages in a decent amount of time because it's not tied into anything else. And I think that's something that people don't realize is you can create your own pretty easy, not the AI level, but the coding is back there for you inside Facebook Messenger. Thing that we can do to help alleviate everything that the leasing staff are doing as far as leads. People are drowning in leads right now and they don't have enough staff to keep up with them all.
You help a lot with social media with properties, but there's an expectation that your social media is going to perform a certain way. But then, like you said, if you're not interacting with people as they make comments, or if you're not responding to a message through Messenger, then really what's the point?
Exactly. Oh my gosh. I tell people that all the time. Like, you've spent so much money to get them over here and then they're going to Messenger and just dying, falling off. And it's exactly that. We spend so much money on getting people to our websites and we're drowning in leads. So then if you try to get qualified traffic, that ends up messing up along the way. I haven't seen a really great qualifying integration because that was truly a qualifier. Anything that can alleviate some of that time for the leasing agents. I think that's where they're struggling right now.
Because they're not full-time social media people.
Correct. And so many property management companies, these people are property managers. They're not social media managers. I find the biggest struggle for people on site is just starting a new Facebook page and Instagram page and linking them together. That alone can take a little bit of knowledge beyond the basics of social media. But the property managers, now I got to learn social media. And like I said earlier, you'd rather somebody want to do that and be a little bit in the know than just forcing out some social media content that's just, you can tell somebody was like, copy, paste, I'm done. Yeah, if somebody doesn't want to do social media, it's going to show. Like when I go to a property, I take so many videos. I'm on social media the whole time. And I'm telling you, reels, if you guys aren't doing reels, do them. I cannot even begin to tell you how good reels are doing right now, but I'm excited about their property. And if you're not excited about it, it's going to show, or you're just not going to want to get on social media at all. And the burnout can come from being on social media because a lot of people are not happy about these rents right now. And they're going to tell you as soon as you post your vacancy for 25% above market. Yep. And you've got to take those comments, and they can come pretty quickly sometimes. So that's a lot. That's a lot for somebody
Yeah,
to be
it
a
is.
social media person.
Yeah, and actually, one of my guests, it was my second guest. Her name's Veronica Soto. She's at a community over in California, and they have a huge presence for their apartment community. TikTok, Instagram, they do a lot of reels, TikTok videos, and get a lot of interactions, and not always positive. But she does a great job of responding to those and even taking inspiration or critique from them. So there's a lot to gain from it too. So
Right.
you shouldn't just take it personally necessarily. It's almost, maybe we should do
Yeah.
what they're asking.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times I'll read that and I'll be like, that's true. You're not wrong. And
Yeah,
sometimes we might feel the same way about rent prices. We might think in the back of our mind, we totally agree. And right now, it's just, I'd say that's probably the number one struggle for property managers right now is these insane rate hikes and us having to sell them without a value add. We just are raising your rent. So
sell it and smile.
yeah. So, and these property managers, we have compassion because we're seeing these people that are struggling paying rent right now.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. One person was just asking if you have your CAM and whether or not you find it is something that adds to their professional development and their ability to excel in the industry.
I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I do not have my CAM. I've taken the course, but haven't taken the test. I do a NALP, which they changed the name, or that is the new name. But do I think it's worth it as far as the education and what you gain from it? Yes. Do I think that those things will get you a raise or get you a significantly higher amount when you're looking for a job? Not necessarily. I do think some accreditations are more highly regarded than others. So I think ask your peers, what do you think is the best? And I will say, I do think IRM is probably a little bit of a higher standard as far as what people recognize in the industry. I think it's a little higher tier. Also, I think there's a lot to be said about a CAM. So if I see it behind somebody's name, I'm like, I think they care about their job. They probably did it on their own because I don't see a lot of companies that pay for that. So to me, it says more about what I think you are when I see those. I don't know if other people that are hiring think, oh, she's definitely leagues above everybody else as far as education, or if they see it like I do, like you really have to care to go out and take those courses most of the time on your own. Yeah. That's what I think of more.
Well, I know it's always good to have more education and learning and understanding certain things, but whether or not that gets you a leg up or more money or whatever it is, I guess it really probably is a case-by-case basis and depends on the company and all those things.
And I would say if your company's paying for it, absolutely
why
go
not?
get it. Yeah, and I don't, if you're wanting to further your education and you think, hey, if you've only been in the industry a couple of years, maybe 5, you're definitely going to learn something from these things. I took the NALP. I've been in this industry for 20 years. And I was like, am I going to pass this thing? What do I not know here? There's a lot of basic phrases and definitions, and there's a lot to be learned.